Suffering, I'm catching a fire. Oh, oh my word. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fabulous morning so far. Guys, I know your morning has started a long time ago. Probably when yours was starting, my night was just ending. Whatever the case is, we are here this morning as we usually are. So, good morning. Happy Thursday morning to everybody who is here. Thank you all for popping in. This morning we are going to be continuing with our Bible reading as we do each morning. For those of you who are new here, a very special welcome to you. Thank you so much for stopping into the live of Trev from Treversence. Oops. Hold on 1 second there, guys. Let's see what's going on this side of town here. Give me 1 second. Guys, if you are here with me, go ahead and get your book Bible or Google Bible, whichever one you got. Yeah, and join me as I read Luke chapter 7, verse 8. Now, for those of you who are just coming into the channel, just discovering my page, please understand that when I come here each morning to do the scripture reading, I do not endorse any particular religion or denomination. What I am simply doing is fulfilling my desire to read the Bible from the beginning to the end to determine, what is in the Bible for myself and to make my own critique and analysis of what the Bible actually says. We have been indoctrinated and socialized into believing that this particular book here is our moral guide. And I'm not going to argue that we do need one, but, but, but. Flagger Georgia, bless up your nice clean self. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, but I think it is imperative that we read for ourselves. Okay, a lot of requests, have been thrusted upon us about how we should live, what we should and what we shouldn't do, and what the consequences are going to be if we disobey. But what we need to do is to read for ourselves so that we are aware. But some of us we just too lazy, we can't be about that. The Bible too long, Bible too confusing, get too many books. But at the same time, it is the same book that's being used to convert, condemn, and convert you. Okay, we're reading from um, St. Luke chapters 7 and 8 this morning. Now, yesterday we read about how the Pharisees and the Sadducees have been trying to hold Jesus' feet to the fire, if you will, in terms of the things that he was doing, especially on the Sabbath day. You know, even today, people still hold the Sabbath day with, I should say, they hold the Sabbath day with such, I don't know if I should say tender gloves or I should say thorn gloves. There are some people who are so radical that they won't cook, they won't eat on the Sabbath day. And they're gonna say, well, the Bible say that you should not do any of these things on the Sabbath day. And I want to say to those people, please go read the Bible for yourselves. Or come sit down and listen to me when I read it. Because I don't have a problem reading it for you. Okay? I did not know that through my reading of the Bible, I would come across Jesus or anybody in the Bible saying Moses was wrong about anything. If you all have been here with me, like many people have been, people like Cad and Winsome, Joseph, AG, Tisha, Andrew, there are lots of people here who have been with me since the very first day when we said in the beginning. You know, there are some people who deliberately stopped following me and ran away, all because I was reading the Bible. And I said those people were the ones who probably needed to stay and listen to what we were reading. Right, you? I see you is here. Best of Tamika is here as well. Welcome, guys. I'm not ignoring you all. It's just what it is. Yeah, lots of people who ran away because they did not like what I was reading. And I'm like, why would they be upset about what I am reading when I am reading it from their good book? But they were mad at me for reading what the Bible says. And I still can't get it. I still can't get it, but that's okay. To each his own. If you want to leave, you are free to go. There are no bounds and there are no chains. All I am doing is doing for me what many of you have refused to do for yourselves. All right? And that is reading the good book. All right? When I spoke about these laws that Moses was giving the people, and I said to you, I said, I cannot see. Well, the way that I was socialized into believing that God is, I could not see a God giving Moses all these laws. They were ridiculous. They were just absolutely incredible, unbelievable, and the consequences, this stoning and all of this. And I'm just like, damn, they're presenting this God as such a cruel person, man. I can't think that God would tell Moses these things. And then we get to the New Testament, and the people are still using what Moses had taught them. They were still judging themselves, the others around them, and even when Jesus came, they were trying to judge Jesus by the laws of Moses. Jesus said, I know Moses told you these things, and I know you all believe they were true, but it's not. It's not. Remember, during Moses' time, they couldn't do anything on the Sabbath day. They could not go in their fields. They couldn't do anything on the Sabbath day. When Jesus came, when Jesus came, and they were walking through the cornfield, and the disciples were so hungry, they decided they decided to pick some corn. What the Pharisees and the Sadducees said, hot yo, I got you. Don't your law say you shouldn't do this on the Sabbath day? And Jesus reminded them, if you're hungry, you gotta eat. David had done the same thing. When he was hungry, there was food in the temple, but they claimed that the food was only for the priests. David went in and ate the food. Yeah, because he was hungry. And Jesus used that as an example. Said he was hungry, he eat. If you are hungry, would you rather to die of hunger only because it's the Sabbath? Or would you take care of yourself? Would you get you something to eat? If your child is sick, would you say you're not taking your child to the doctor today because you're not driving because it's the Sabbath? So you'd rather stay there and have your child die? Makes no sense. So for me, I see Jesus' teaching as bringing practicality to this whole religious thing. You have to be practical. You can't be chained and bounded to any form of ideology that is not making sense, that is not realistic, you know. And that was why Jesus talked about forgiveness. Because when we were reading about Moses' law that he was giving to the people, did it include forgiveness? There is always a very detrimental consequence for people's actions. Always. You take somebody husband, rock stone in your head. You take somebody wife, rock stone. No, the man them not get rock stone, just the woman them. Very few men get rock stone. When them want to thief your things, rock stone. You understand? They were just I had said it before at that time when I was reading that this was just too cruel of a doctrine to be a doctrine encouraged by the God that has been presented to me as all loving and faithful and forgiving. It just was not showing that in the Old Testament. And even in Jeremiah said that he did not trust even Moses. That if he's even Moses come in front of him, he will ask God to burn them up. And that is to show that at least either he knew something or he believed that Moses' laws were flawed, seriously flawed. And I share that belief. They were. And even Jesus shared that belief that they were. They were seriously flawed. But Moses, remember when Moses gave those to the people? Moses said, I talk to God face to face, and God tell me these things. Now, when Jesus said it wasn't true, what else was Moses lying about? You think about it. If he was willing to lie about even one thing, I believe he would have been willing to lie about many things. All these goat sacrifices and cow sacrifice and sheep sacrifice and all these things. No wonder Jesus told the people, I don't want your sacrifices. Why am I want your sacrifices for? What is this supposed to do? How is this supposed to redeem you from your sin? Your heart is what is important. I don't want to hear about you're not supposed to eat this, or you're not supposed to eat that because you're going to go to hell if you do. That is just food that goes out in the draft. What I want, what Jesus wants, what God wants is your heart. And I thought that brought about a practical reason for anybody to say that they are religious or to follow any sort of religious doctrine. The practicality that Jesus brought to religion, to Christianity. Okay? All right, take the talk enough now. All right, so that is where I stand where the Bible is concerned, right? How that, Michibu, are you that, sis? Bless up your nice, clean self. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody in the live. Thank you all for appreciating the live. Mr. Joseph, Joseph. Joseph, what? Mr. Joseph, me and Joseph got bed together. Me and Joseph wake up together. Why, Joseph? Me think you were made for me and I was made for you. Trust me. I don't know. I don't know why we're fighting it. Yes, Michibu, me did I wait for you a long time. Long, long time I was waiting for you. And I said, you know what? Me not start the reading until you actually get here. So here you are. So now I can start the reading. Welcome, guys. Welcome into the live. Now I invite you all to get your book Bible or your Google Bible, whichever Bible you have at hand. Get it and come. Let us read together. All right. We are reading from the book of St. Luke, chapter 7. Chapter 7 and 8. Luke chapter 7. Now, when he had ended all his sayings in the audience of the people, he entered into Capernaum. And a certain centurion servant who was dear unto him was sick and about ready to die. And when he heard of Jesus, he sent unto him the elders of the Jews, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant. Winsome, good morning, Sister Winsome. Bless up yourself. Yes, me just starting, Michibo. Seriously, seriously. Me just starting. Michibo, see what time we up on live this morning? We never come out for live this morning till almost about around about 2-ish. Yeah, around 2 o'clock we come out for the live this morning. The live did nice, man. The live did turn up last night. But around 2 o'clock I said I got to go. Andrea is here as well. Andrea, good morning. Andrea, say, after me go to sleep this morning, when 4 o'clock came and the phone alarm, and I try wake me up. Me wake up and me turn it off. And I realized I hadn't gotten enough sleep. So I tried to go back to sleep and child, me twist and me turn and me turn and me twist and me twist and me turn. And me turn and me twist until eventually me decide to get up in about 6:30 so. Me decide to get up and jump around do this, do that, do the other, do the third. And then me decide, Trev, did you realize? See you do what? Oh, Michibu said, I know I was over here and I left. Yes, we stayed on and go on vibes with the creative minds. Trev, did you realize that uh, all of the you fall off of the wagon last night? Joseph, I know say I thought you were still there because when I was finished, I saw that you were there just about the entire time. But guess you drop off of the wagon and left the phone running. Anybody who drop off of the wagon all that the time of night, them I love. When I say me getting up, see I know you alone. Andrea they drop off of the wagon too. Yeah, I understand. I understand. It is what it is. Yeah, we not used to go in a bed them hours a night there. But we had to. We had to. We never even did one cut the live short, but we had to. But anywho, let us continue reading. We are reading from St. Luke chapter 7, guys, for those of you who are just coming. Verse 3. And when he heard of Jesus, he sent unto him the elders of the Jews, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant. And when they came to Jesus, they besought him instantly, saying that he was worthy for whom he should do this. For he loves our nation, and he hath built us a synagogue. Then Jesus went with them, and when he was now not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to him, saying unto him, Lord, trouble not thyself, for I am not worthy that thou shouldest enter under my roof. Wherefore, neither thought I myself worthy to come unto thee, but say in a word, and my servant shall be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, having on having under me soldiers, and I say unto one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him, and turned him about, and said unto the people that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith. No, no, not in Israel. So you see, they called Jesus to come heal a servant of a centurion. When he was on his way, the centurion sent back to say, Jesus, under my roof, it's not worthy for you to come under my roof. Now remember, this centurion was not a Jew. And at the time, remember, Jesus was healing the Jews. Remember when he sent out his disciples, he said, before they entered into anybody's house to perform any miracle or to heal them, they should find out whether or not the person was a Jew, whether or not they were from Israel. If not, they were not allowed. They were not allowed to heal them, or they were not allowed to heal them or to perform any miracles for them. The other people around them were not worthy. Okay? So here, this man, he sent for Jesus to come and heal the servant of his. Now, when Jesus was on his way there, the man sent back to tell him, listen, Jesus, I know I am not worthy for you to come into my house, because here I am a part of this oppressive government. I have servants that when I say go, they go. When I say come, they come. When I say do this or do that, they do it. Meaning that he was one of them who had Jewish slaves. So he said, I'm not worthy for you to come under my roof. So Jesus turned around and turned back, and he said, he never seen such faith in Israel. Now he's constantly comparing the way the Jewish people treated him as to the way the people who were not Jews would receive him. Now you all remember the Canaanite woman, when the Canaanite woman had come for him to heal her child. He said, it is not good for him to give the children's food to the dogs. That was him saying, it is not good for him to give this healing to this person who was not a Jew. And because of her faith, she said, Father, I know I'm not worthy. I know that. But I will even eat the crumbs that fall off of your table. If only you would heal my child. That means she was willing to follow him. She was willing to do just about anything. That was the kind of faith that we saw exhibited by Ruth when Naomi said to Ruth and Orpha, listen, I am an old woman. I'm an old woman. When I left Jerusalem and went over to this other place, I was full. I had my husband and I had my 2 sons. Now I am going back to my people. I have nothing. Go back to your people. They were Moabites. Go back to your people and let me go back to my people. And Ruth said, wherever you go, I go. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Ruth had such great faith that she was not going to leave this old woman by herself, even though Naomi was determined to tell her, I am old. I can't have any more sons for you to marry. It's better for me to go back amongst my people, that somebody there will give me a cup of water. Ruth said, no, I will come with you. So here it was the same thing the Canaanite woman said to Jesus. I don't care what happened. I don't care what you say. I will even eat the crumbs of that falls off your table onto the floor. And here it was the same thing with this centurion saying, I know I am not worthy. If there's anybody who is not worthy, I am definitely not worthy, because Jesus is a Jew and I am an enslaver of Jews. How worthy could I be for this great Jewish person to come into my place, to come do me a favor? At least he was acknowledging. Right, AG? AG, you know from when me there wait for you to come. You know from when me there wait for you to come. Me and Joseph there are going with yourself, you know. I'm saying me I wait for AG to come. Yeah. It take a little bit long to come still, but that's all right. We can work with it. Let us continue, my friends. Moving right along in St. Luke chapter 7 and verse 10. And they that were sent, returning to the house, found the servant whole that had been sick. So Jesus didn't even have to go under the roof. He did not have to go into the house. By just accepting the faith of the centurion towards him, he was able to send healing to the man. Every time I read the Bible, may I tell lie. No, sir. No, sir. Nothing like that. And it came to pass the day after that he went into a city called Nain. And many of his disciples went with him, and much people. Now when he came near to the gate of the city, behold, there was a dead man carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and much people of the city were with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and he said unto her, Weep not, weep not. And he came and touched the bier, and they that bare him stood still. And he said, Young man, I say unto thee, arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak, and he delivered him to his mother. And there came a fear on all the people, and they glorified God, saying that a great prophet is risen up among us, and that God had visited his people. Can you imagine how delighted the Jewish people were to see that after all they had been downtrodden? Chibusa should have passed right out. I probably would too. To see your child be totally declared totally dead, and to see someone coming to say, rise up, and your child rise up awake, all of a sudden, you wouldn't be the only one passing out, Michibu. I would pass out right away. You know, so this kind of action here, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, you think they were happy to see that? No, absolutely not. Because there can't be any Jew rise up and be this powerful. Huh? Can't be. In their minds, it can't be, because you see, they have stepped on and brought down the Jewish people to nothing. They have reduced their communities to rubble. They had reduced them. They had reduced everything. Remember, it had been 14 generations. When Jesus came, it had been 14 generations since Israel was destroyed by Babylon and the people were taken into captivity and were scattered all around. So by this time when Jesus came, there was no real established Israel. There wasn't. By the time Jesus came, the people who ruled the area that was called Israel were people who were appointed by the rulers of Babylon over the years. So the great country of Israel that existed during David's time was, I mean, just the name was there, but it wasn't being governed by Jewish people, the Jewish people who wasn't in captivity in Babylon were sprinkled all around in the surrounding countries, in Egypt and everywhere. They were sprinkled all around. So there was no cohesion amongst them. You know, they were slaves. Their city had been burnt, their country had been burnt and destroyed, and all the people around, all the other countries, the rulers of the other countries, had now made the determination that the country of Israel should not ever exist again and would not exist again as long as they live. And so this was handed down from one ruler to the next for 14 generations. And then here comes a Jew named Jesus, a very powerful Jew. You think they like that? No, they did not. No, they did not. They didn't like that at all. Because as far as they are concerned, there can be no good coming out of Israel. There can be no good coming out from amongst the Jewish people. So they did not like that. Now imagine the same people you don't like, there is one of them who is able to raise the dead. And my golly, I'm sure you got some dead you would like him to raise, huh? But you don't like his people. You have them enslaved. You have signed a declaration that their country should never be reestablished. But here comes a very powerful one, and you would love to have his service. At least this centurion here, he had a conscience. He had a conscience, like, oh no, for the way how me treat the Jew them, there is no way. Me not worthy of a Jew to give me not even a cup of water, let alone to be this gracious to me to raise my dead. And that's why that centurion could not stand for Jesus to come into his house. And then here Jesus raised the dead of this son of this woman. I can only imagine how delighted she was. Imagine your husband is dead and you got one son, one dege child, and now your son is dead. I can't imagine the grief this mother was going through. So imagine how elated she was when imagine how elated she was when Jesus brought her son back to life. Let's go on to verse 17. And this rumor of him, let's read 16 first. And they came a fear on all, and they glorified God, saying that a great prophet is risen up amongst us, and that God had visited his people. And this rumor of him went forth throughout all of Judea and throughout all the regions round about. And the disciples of John showed him of all these things. And John, calling unto him two of his disciples, sent them to Jesus, saying, Art thou be that should come, or do we look for another? All right. So remember, Isaiah had prophesied that there is going to be a redeemer that is going to come for Israel. Isaiah had prophesied it, and the Jewish people and all the people around. The reading is from Luke chapter 7. We are on chapter 7. This morning we are reading chapter 7 and 8, but we are currently on chapter 7. Okay, so remember, Isaiah, many years ago, Isaiah had prophesied that there was going to be a redeemer coming for the Jews, and this person is going to be there. The others around are going to be forced to respect him because he's going to be able to raise the dead. He's going to redeem the Jewish people. He's going to cause the other nations around to have a newfound respect for the Jewish people. So now here is Jesus, and this respect is coming because here they see him raising the dead. He's healing the sick. He's preaching and he's teaching with ration, with good sense. You know, all the Jewish people are following him, and even the people who are not Jews are following him too. So the leaders around in the surrounding countries, they are taking notes to see whether or not their positions are going to be threatened by the presence of this individual. And now John sent his disciples to ask him, Yehovah, are you the person they said was coming to redeem the Jews? Or should we look for somebody else to come? Should we wait? Is there somebody else who is going to come after you? Or are you the one that we were looking for? When the men were come unto him, they said, John the Baptist had sent us, saying, Art thou he that should come, or should we look for another? And in that same hour, he cured many of their infirmities and plagues and of evil spirits. And unto many that were blind, he gave sight. Then Jesus answering said unto them, Go your way, and tell John what things ye have seen and heard, how that the blind can see, the lame can walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf can hear, the dead are raised, and to the poor the gospel is preached. And blessed is he whosoever shall not be offended in me. And when the messengers of John were departed, he began to speak unto the people concerning John. What went he out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? Remember John? John the Baptist was the one who was living in the wilderness, preaching in the wilderness, wearing that leather loin and that clothes made out of animal skin. John the Baptist was the one who baptized Jesus. Now here Jesus said, you know, what did John the Baptist go in the wilderness to preach? Who was he preaching to in the wilderness? He go in the wilderness to go see the leaves and the reeds being swished around by the wind. What was that all about? And in verse 25 it says, But what did he went in there to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they which are gorgeously apparelled, that means those that are beautifully clothed and live delicately, are in king's courts. But what did he go in the wilderness to see? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and much more than a prophet. God is here, God. Bless up yourself. Exactly. That's exactly what Jesus has said. Our our John Depan. Like, yeah, our John Depp, what did John go in the wilderness for? Like, what are you going to the wilderness for? If you wanted to see people, to preach to people, they are not in the wilderness. If you're preaching to the kings and the people who are dressed nicely, they are not in the wilderness. They are in the king's court. So, like, what the hell was John doing in the wilderness? I win some, so that's history again. Always, my love. Always. Why does the Jews practice Passover now? And why them practice Passover again, God? And Jesus was like, he was just analyzing what in the world John was doing. Like, bro, what's up with it? Why you go in the wilderness to preach in the wilderness? What are you doing in the who goes into a wilderness to preach? Just like he says, who lights a lamp and put it under a bushel? That ain't make no sense. You can't light a lamp and put it under a bushel. You gotta light a lamp and put it out in the open so it can shine, so you can have light. What's the point of lighting a lamp but hiding the light? That makes no sense. He said, what in the world? What John doing in the John was in the wilderness watching way in the wilderness. I watch the tree them I sway back and forth. If you want to preach to people, you have to come out, man. You have to go amongst them. You understand? You have to preach amongst them. You have to teach them. You can't teach them from in the wilderness. I want them to pass over. I remember. I wake day, can't probably remember what the Bible says about Passover. Me have to go look it up. That one in our floor right off of my head this morning. Somebody said them feel like the Jesus was a black man. Well, the thing is, the thing is, he would have had to have been. Why I say that is because historically, the people of that region, the Bible talk about the olive skin of those people. Clearly, the white man that they are showing us, the white man with the straight nose and stuff, is not him. I think they are confusing when he says, when he talk about the person being robed in clothes that are white as snow. So I guess, the Aryan people take that and they interpret it their way to say that, he has got to be a white man, but it could not have been, could not have been, couldn't have been. Let us continue. We are on Luke chapter 7 and verse 25. I'm going to read again. But what went ye to see? A man clothed in soft raiment? Behold, they which are gorgeously apparelled and live delicately are in king's courts. But what did he go to see, though? A prophet? Yea, I say unto you, and much more than a prophet. This is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. For I say unto you, among those that are born of women, there is not a greater prophet than John the Baptist. Really? Jesus said, listen, among those that are born of women, there is no greater prophet than John the Baptist. but he that is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he. Hmm. But he that is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he. Oh, TikTok no like TikTok no like on TikTok don't even like themselves. I can't even be bothered with them, to be honest with you. But anyway, let us continue. Verse 29. And all the people that heard him and the publicans justified God, being baptized with the baptism of John. But the Pharisees and lawyers rejected the counsel of God against themselves, being not baptized of him. And the Lord said, where, hold on, the people, I set up myself here, so. Yeah, me look for the phone and I wonder, so where the phone there. Let us continue. And all the people that heard him and the publicans justified God, being baptized with the baptism of John. But the Pharisees and lawyers rejected the counsel of God against themselves, being not baptized of him. And the Lord said, whereunto then shall I liken the men of this generation? And to what are they like? They are like unto children sitting in a marketplace and calling one to another and saying, we have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned to you, and ye have not wept. For John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and he say, he hath a devil. That's what the people said, about John the Baptist. I guess was their way of saying, so that man are crazy. There were some people who believed in him because it had been prophesied before that there was going to be a man who was going to be preaching in the wilderness and that he was going to be baptizing people. That was prophesied many years before John the Baptist even came about. It was prophesied that there was going to be a man preaching in the wilderness, and this man was going to baptize people. This man was going to baptize people, and the people were going to dislike him, and people are not going to want to follow him because they're going to think that he was crazy. And here Jesus is saying the same thing, like, what in the world was John the Baptist up to? I think he was just trying to make the point that if John the Baptist was able to go in the wilderness and preach from the wilderness, and the people considering him to be a madman, but yet when he emerged from the wilderness and started to baptize people in the River Jordan, they were still willing to go to him and get baptized. He couldn't have been that bad after all. He must have been saying something that resonated with the people. Let's move along. Verse 32. They are like unto children sitting in a marketplace, and calling one to another and saying, we have piped unto you, and ye have not danced. We have mourned to you, and ye have not wept. For John the Baptist came neither eating bread nor drinking wine, and ye say, not he, no, not he, but like, and you say, you people say that he hath a devil. The Son of Man is come eating and drinking, and ye say, behold, a gluttonous man and a wine-bibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. But wisdom is justified of all her children. And one of the Pharisees desired him that he would eat with him. And he went into the Pharisees' house and sat down to eat. And behold, a woman in the city, which was a sinner, when she knew that Jesus sat to eat in the house of the Pharisees, she brought an alabaster box of ointment. and stood at his feet behind him, weeping, and began to wash his feet with tears, and did wipe them with the hairs on her head, and kissed his feet, and anointed them with the ointment. Now, when the Pharisees which had bidden him saw it, he spake within. Now, when the Pharisee which had bidden him saw it, he spake within himself, saying, This man, if he were a prophet, would have known who and what manner of woman this is that touches him, for she is a sinner. All right. So you see, in that Pharisee's heart, in Matthew though, in Matthew it said she put it on his head. And I saw in a Matthew said, people, me tell you, no, so now have an assignment to read the book of Matthew. I want to read it for yourself, because you are all not about to be totally spoon fed around these parts of the internet. I want you all to read the book of Matthew and read the book of Luke together. Read them, take notes, and compare. You say for Mary, somebody say for Mary, the lady. I don't know. We have to continue reading. I remember in the book of Matthew, it talked about the same woman who had brought the alabaster box with the oil and put the oil on Jesus's head. Now in Luke, it says she used the oil to wash his feet, kiss his feet, dry his feet with her hair. Me don't know why the information, why the information in Matthew and in Luke, why it is distorted. I am not sure what is going on here. Not sure, because I expected to read the same information. Some of it might look simple and you might say, oh, it no matter, she did anoint a part of his body, hey, no matter. But to me, it matters, because it shows that there are inconsistencies in the scripture. And when I had said it before, on jump up on me and say, oh, everything when in the Bible are true, and the Bible written by men, inspired by God. When me telling you say nothing no go so, on jump up in my collar, ready for collar boost me if you tell me say when me I say is not true. Everything when in the Bible is truth. When I ask if you really believe, say, God really did tell Moses all them things. If you do, jump up and say yes. I'm telling you, so when I analyze the situation from my little pea brain mind, when I analyze it, it could not be true. I say God never talked to Moses. I say Moses didn't get some directives from God, but me never believe Moses got all of the things he was telling the people. It seemed too cult-like, it seemed too controlling for it to have come from any God. And I got my redemption when even Jesus said, I know that some of these things Moses taught you, you have believed it all these years, but is not true. If is even one thing Jesus said Moses tell people that was not true, that to me is vindication for my initial thoughts when I said it. I'm ready to jump up in my collar. So how you want for this start and compare the two? Yes, ma'am. That is no assignment. I want you to read it to yourself and compare it. Because right here, so Luke says, the woman anoint Jesus's feet. And in a Matthew, he's saying she pour it on his head. All right. Yet when some say yes, it's the head. Yes, ma'am, I remember. Yes. Like olive oil. Remember in Matthew they had said this expensive oil, the woman waste the oil to come through it upon Jesus' head. And Jesus said, you will only have oil all the time, but you will not have me all the time. Moses says something that I think is a whole heap of things. When some, not just one thing, not just two things, a whole heap of things Moses said that I believe Moses make up then something there, because Moses was so determined that these people needed to be under control. And he knew that if he did not implement these laws where the people them to drive fear into the people, them people here would have run amok. Them they people can't control it with fear, Notice, notice how when them enact laws, how them put these consequences behind them. You think about the consequences more than you think about the law. When them say, if you drive 10 miles over the speed limit, them are go your penalty going to be XYZ dollar. Talk to me, people. You don't think about the money more than how you think about driving 10 miles over. You understand? When them say if you do whatever the case may be, if you're living in one HOA like me and them threaten you, them a go, if you not pay your dues, them a go take away your house. You think more about them taking away your house than you think about the dues, You understand? So it's a form of control. You do this or else. And that's what Moses was faced with. And remember, there were multitudes of them, there was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Jewish people that Moses was ruling over. He had to have laws to govern these people. And some of the laws were downright, they were just draconian laws, like, the consequences people were thinking about. Rock stone for them. So you wouldn't afraid. So the people were definitely afraid. But after a while, the people them started drifting away because it became too much for them. How much more goat, how much more cow, how much more sheep we are going to sacrifice? Would you be able to survive? All of you always say the thing in the Bible are true. I mean, I follow everything when I Bible. Would you be able to redeem yourself with as many goats and sheep as was needed for the ransom for your soul? Would you be able to live up to that the children of Israel were subjected to by Moses? You couldn't. You couldn't. So as Ecclesiastes says that there's a time and a place for everything. And I think the time and the place for those kinds of teachings from Moses had come and gone. Because it was not practical. Wasn't practical. And him to leave the lady alone. When them exactly, he told them to leave the woman alone because she poured the oil. Now you hear the Pharisees in his mind. He was saying, I wonder if Jesus knows, say, that woman is an old sinner. Why she a come pour oil upon him. And him sit down there. And make her a washing foot with this oil and a wiping foot with her hair and a kissing foot. Watch him now. That the Pharisees just said in my mind, Verse 40, and Jesus answering said unto him, Simon, Simon, I have somewhat to say to you. And he said, Master, go ahead. There was a certain creditor which had two debtors. Now listen to this, He said, there was a certain creditor who had two debtors. The one owed 500 pence and the other owed 50. Hold on. Hold on, the people. Andrea is asking a valid question here. I'm going to take a pause to read this question. Andrea says, do you think Moses as a leader misguided the multitude in the wilderness to the promised land for so many years? It could have been. It could have been. I would not doubt it that he misguided the multitude in the wilderness to when they were on their way to the promised land. Me tell us say, it's not supposed to take them more than a few days the most to reach from Egypt to Canaan. It not take them that long. And you tell me 40 years? 40 years? Something right about that. But anyway, that the Bible say it took them 40 years in the wilderness. Let us continue. I'm going to read verse 40 again. And Jesus answering said unto him, Simon, I have something to say to you. And he said, Master, go ahead. There was a certain creditor who had two debtors. One owed him 500 pence and the other owed him 50. And when they had nothing to pay, he frankly forgave them both. Tell me, therefore, which of them will love him most? Simon answered and said, I suppose that he to whom he forgave most. And he said unto him, Thou wast rightly judged. All right. So that tells me that these Pharisees, the name of these Pharisees whose house Jesus was at, his name was Simon. All right. And Jesus said to him, if two people owe a man money, one owe him 500 pence and one owe him 50, and none of them not have the money to pay him back. And him say, all right, I'm going to just forgive you now. I'm going to just forgive the two of you. Which one do you think is going to appreciate it the most? Simon said, well, the one we forgave the most. That means the one who owed him the most, the more money. And Jesus said, you have rightly judged. And he turned to the woman and said unto Simon, do you see this woman? I entered into your house. You gave me no water for my feet, but she has washed my feet with her tears and wiped them with the hair on her head. Thou gave me no kiss, but this woman, since the time I came in, hath not ceased to kiss my feet. I thought Jesus never liked to be kissed. How comes when Judas kissed him, it was bad? Oh, because when you greet somebody in their custom, in the Jewish custom, when you greet somebody, especially when somebody comes to your house, you give them a kiss, you offer them water. That is supposed to be the custom. But this are Simon, I'm not Jew, my Pharisees. But I guess he didn't receive Jesus as Jesus expected him to receive him. But at the same time, Jesus is sitting in his house, eating food. And Sharon, yeah, I'm sit down there and eat food with him. But anywho, 46 says, my head with oil thou didst not anoint, but this woman hath anointed my feet with ointment. Wherefore I say unto you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But to whom little is given, but to whom little is forgiven, the same loves little. And he said unto her, thy sins are forgiven. And they that sat at meat with him began to say within themselves, who is this that forgives sins also? And he said to the woman, thy faith hath saved thee, go in peace. Grand rising, Michibu. Oh, them a pause you. What wrong with them? They are something else, When some say, and some people always say you must not eat with sinner and look what happened. Or, yeah, those people are misguided. Who am I? Who am I to say I am not going to meet with you, sit with you, eat with you, whatever, because you are a sinner? Like, are you kidding me? But you know though, Winsome, that there are some preachers, some people who claim to be preachers, who also have that mentality. Yeah, you're not supposed to be in them presence. Yeah, because you're a sinner. There are some people who really do embrace that kind of ideology. But Jesus, he didn't mind this woman who the Pharisees were seeing as they say she's a sinner, thinking that, Jesus is not supposed to even entertain this woman as she washes his feet. But she's doing for him what Simon didn't do, even though Jesus was Simon's guest. Jesus had come to Simon's house. Simon didn't greet him well, didn't kiss him, didn't offer him any water, nothing. And here comes this woman, and Simon is the first one to judge this woman, to say, hey, where this woman, this so sinful woman, come from? I wash Jesus' feet, and I kiss him feet, and I drying feet with her hair. And here she is considered to be the least among them. But he forgave her of her sins as he sent her on her way. Them say, but with some, any pastor we tell about don't keep sin a friend. Tell a pastor that go sit on one side and one corner, quay over so. Because we are all, everybody a sinner. Some of these pastors believe that they are above and beyond, and they are not. God said because she's showing him up. Exactly. Exactly. She's doing for the guests what the host should have done. But the host ain't doing it. Yes. Yes, she's doing for the guests what Simon the host should have done. He should have welcomed his guests, but he did not. So he was upset that this woman now, Jesus was entertaining this woman because this woman was doing what he, Simon, failed to do as the host. All right, let us continue. Now that's the end of Luke chapter 7. He said to the woman, thy faith has saved thee. Now go in peace. Let's move on to chapter 8 of the book of Luke. Follow along, guys. Follow along. Remember, when you come here, I know there's a lot of new people here. When you come here into my life, please do not forget, this is not your ordinary or your usual Bible study. This is no Bible study. I'm not here to convict, condemn, or convert anybody into believing or not to believe. What I am simply doing, I am on my journey, actually. It's my journey to read the Bible from the beginning to the end and analyze it for myself. And I have chosen to travel that journey out loud so that everybody out there can hear it. You will hear when I stumble. You will hear when I don't understand, because I certainly don't, and I don't purport to. You will hear when I understand and when I don't understand, because I am only trying to understand what it is in this book that has been presented to me as my moral guide. Okay? So that's where we are at. So if you hear me say something and it's not in alignment with what you think or what you believe, yeah, don't tell me over here preaching or teaching anything that is wrong. All right? This is my journey and my understanding. I'm no theologian. Okay, Winsome is one of my church sister tell me tell her to leave me alone because Jesus come for the sinner. Exactly, when some of your church sister go tell you say you're not supposed to have sinner company. Some of them they are so heavenly bound, they are no earthly good with them foolishness. Utter nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Okay? Positive energy drawn to her to do this godly duty of hospitality, and effect was welcome. Exactly. Exactly, Andrea. Exactly. Even though she's a sinner, she had a heart. She had a heart to welcome this man. She had a heart to welcome Jesus. And the others who were condemning her, them could not even extend that kind of hospitality to their guests. Let us move right along into Luke chapter 8, my friends. Luke chapter 8, and it came to pass afterwards that he went throughout every city and village, preaching and showing the glad tidings of the kingdom of God, and the 12 were with him. And certain women which had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom went 7 devils. Now remember Mary Magdalene? Mary Magdalene was one of the women who had run to Jesus's tomb early Sunday morning to find that he was not there. Jesus had cast out 7 devils out of her. You remember that? Verse 3. And Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's steward. Okay, see now, this the Mary. Okay, this is the Mary you were asking about earlier. All right, so now you have your answer, Mary Magdalene. Verse 2 said, and certain women which had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities, Mary called Magdalene, out of whom went 7 devils, and Joanna the wife of Chuza, Herod's steward, and Susanna, and many others, which ministered unto him of their substance. That's like telling doctors they shouldn't be seen with patients. Exactly. Richie Boo said that's my grandmother's name. What, Mary? Oh, Joanna. Exactly. That's what I'm telling the doctor. We are around them sick people here. You might get sick too. That's true, Kad. And Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's steward, and Susanna, and many others, which ministered unto him of their substance. And when much people were gathered together, and were come to him out of every city, he spake by a parable. 12. When some say, look what she used to wipe Jesus' feet or hair, that means, say, she must have had long hair. She must have had long hair to be able to use the hair to wipe Jesus' feet, right? Let us continue. We are now on to chapter 8 and verse 4. And when much people were gathered together and were come to him out of every city, he spake by a parable. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away, because it had no moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. And others fell on good ground, and sprang up, and bare fruit 100-fold. And when he had said these things, he cried, he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. And his disciples asked him, saying, what might this parable mean? And he said, unto you it is given to know the ministries of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, that seeing they might not see, and hearing they might not understand. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of God. Those by the wayside Those by the wayside are they that hear. Then cometh the devil, and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. They on the rock are they which, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no roots, which for a while believe, and in time of temptation they fall away. And that which fell among thorns are they which, when they have heard, go forth, and are choked with cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection. But those on the good ground are they which in a honest and good heart, having heard the word, kept it, and brought forth fruit with patience. No man, when he hath lighted a candle, covers it with a vessel, or puts it under a bed, but sets it up on a candlestick, that they which enter in may see the light. For nothing is secret, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hidden that shall not be known and come abroad. Take heed therefore how ye hear, for whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken even that which he seems to have. Then came to him his mother and his brethren, and could not come at him for the press. And it was told him by certain which said, Thy mother and thy brethren stand outside, desiring to see thee. Now you remember we had read about that, where when Jesus was in the temple, that they came to him and told him that his mother and his brothers were outside. They had come to see him. And he answered and said unto them, My mother and my brethren are these which bear the word of God and do it. Now it came to pass on a certain day that he went into a ship with his disciples, and he said unto them, Let us go over unto the other side of the lake. And they went. But as they sailed, he fell asleep, and there came down a storm of wind on the lake, and they were filled with water, and were in jeopardy. And they came to him and awoke him, saying, Master, Master, we are perishing. Then he arose, and he rebuked the wind and the raging of the water, and they ceased, and there was a calm. And he said unto them, Where is your faith? And they, being afraid, wondered, saying one to another, What manner of man is this? For he commanded even the winds and the water, and they obey him. And they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes. They arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man, which had devils for a long time, and he wore no clothes, neither did he live in any house, but he lived amongst the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell down before him, and with a loud voice he said, What have I to do? What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept bound with chains and in the fetters. And he broke the bands, and was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And Jesus asked him, saying, What is your name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was there a herd of many swine feeding on the mountain. And they besought him that he would suffer them to enter into them. And he suffered them. So this is where again Jesus is casting out the demons out of this fellow. And the demons are being cast into the pigs who are feeding on the countryside. Then went the devils out of the man and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down the hill into the lake, and were all choked. When they that fed them saw what was done, they fled and went and told it to the entire city and country. Then they went out to see what was done, and they came to Jesus and found the man out of whom the devils were departed, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. They also which saw it told them by what means he that was possessed of the devils was healed. Then the whole multitude of the country of the Gadarenes round about besought him to depart from them, for they were taken with great fear, and he went up into the ship and returned back again. All right. So in this place called the Gadarenes was where Jesus cast the devils into the pigs. So they weren't, great question. So they weren't afraid of the madman, I guess not, because he was chained and bounded up. So they were not afraid of him. But here comes Jesus, who cast out the demons out of the madman and into the pigs. And now the people don't want to see Jesus no more. They don't want him there. So they don't want him there anymore, because here he is casting out the demons out of the madman into the pigs. The people are now afraid. You know, so it wouldn't be unheard of if you see somebody performing these kinds of miracles. You don't know what to do with this kind of person. You don't know if you have to run and embrace them, because you might end up running and embracing them. They might cast demons on you. They might be able to read your mind and say, so that Ogya where she give me is not genuine. And people use these things to drive fear into people. So that's why people don't want to eat pigs. Yes, a lot of people cite this text in the Bible and say, them not eating pigs because Jesus did cast the devils into the pigs and make the pigs them run go drown themselves. Yeah, a lot of people don't eat pigs for that reason, but that was an instant, and those 2,000 pigs are dead. So I mean, hey, I don't think if you don't want to eat pig, that is a good enough reason. If you don't want to eat pig because Moses tell the people them say enough to eat the pig, well, that is that. Remember, Moses came before Jesus. Jesus said, me know Moses telling us not enough to eat this and enough to eat that. But remember, what you eat comes out in the draft. That means you poop it out. That has nothing to do with your heart, you know. But he used to be burst the chains. Yes, he used to burst the chain, but as soon as he burst the chains, them would have time up back because the demons were still in him. So as soon as this madman would burst the chains, the people then would gather up and tie him up again and make sure that he remained chained and bounded because they were afraid of him. And now them see him sitting at Jesus' feet in his right mind. Him not crazy, him not talk crazy, him not look crazy anymore. Now they are afraid. What just happened? What just happened? We don't know what just happened with this man whom we have grown to be afraid of, who we have had to control only with chains. We don't know what is happening. Where does Jesus come from? I could understand why the people were afraid. Let us continue. Now the man out of whom the devils were departed besought him that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away. So this man, he wanted to remain with Jesus because of what Jesus had done for him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your own house and show how great things God had done for you." And he went his way and published it throughout the whole city and the entire country, how great things, all the great things that Jesus had done for him. And it came to pass that when Jesus was returned, the people gladly received him, for they were all waiting for him. And behold, there came a man named Jairus, and he was a ruler of the synagogue. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and besought him that he would come into his house. For he had one and only one daughter. She was about 12 years old, and she lay there dying. But as he went, the people were thronged about him. And a woman having an issue of blood for 12 years, which had spent all her living on physicians, neither could be healed of any. She came behind him and touched the hem of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood staunched. That means it ceased. And Jesus said, "Who touched me?" And they all denied it. Peter and they that were with him said, "Master, the multitude is so great. The throng, everybody is pushing up against thee. How can you ask who touched you? It could have been anybody." And Jesus said, "Somebody touched me, for I perceived that virtue is gone out of me." Now remember, Jesus did not have to even touch a person for the person to be healed. Remember when the centurion had called him to come in to heal the servant. The centurion had asked him to not bother to come even before he had arrived. And he said, even though he had not gone into the house, he was still able to heal the servant. So he knows when the virtue has been, when any virtue has been removed from him and affected someone. So he knew that this touch from this woman was not an ordinary touch of people. It was not an ordinary touch of people in a crowded space. You're in a crowded space and people are brushed up against one another. He knew that that was not that kind of touch. It was a different kind of touch. This touch was a deliberate touch. And Peter said, "Father, how you ask who touched you? It could have been anybody." And Jesus said, "I perceive this touch because I can feel the virtue come out of me." He felt the healing power had come out of him and been shared with somebody. And it was shared with this woman who had had the issue of blood. Let us continue. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. While he yet spake, there cometh one from the ruler of the synagogue's house, saying to him, Thy daughter is dead. Trouble not the master. So here, remember, Jairus is here. Jairus would love for Jesus to come to his house to heal his daughter before she dies. And while he's there among the throng of people with Jesus, somebody came from his house and said, It don't matter, you don't need to see Jesus no more because your daughter has already passed away. But when Jesus heard this, he answered him, saying, Fear not, believe only, and she shall be made whole. And when he came into the house, he suffered no man to go in except Peter, James, and John, and the father and mother of the child. And they all wept, and they bewailed her. But he said, Weep not, she is not dead, she is just sleeping. And they laughed him to scorn, knowing that she was dead. And he put them all out and took her by the hand and called and said, Maiden, arise. And her spirits came again into her, and she arose right away. And he commanded to give her meat to eat. And her parents were astonished, but he charged them that they should tell no man what was done. Here ends the reading of St. Luke chapter 8. I don't know why Jesus always tell the people them say, don't tell nobody say me heal your sick. Don't tell nobody say me raise your dead. Don't tell nobody say me cast out demons. He better tell them to go tell. Because the more him tell them don't tell, is the more they tell. Them run them out, them tell everybody. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? I just think the only bad thing about it is because the enemies who were around, the enemies who were determined to ensure that no great one rise up out of Israel, they would start to think of different ways to get rid of him. So he probably did not want the stories to get out too fast, too soon. Because the faster and the sooner it get out, it was the sooner that he would be crucified. So when he tell the people don't tell, he had his reasons. But you think them listen? Them not listen. When he said don't tell, you better tell them to go tell. Because the people were like old fridge. Them not keep nothing. Them not keep nothing at all. As soon as him do it, as soon as they go ahead and tell it. All right, guys, this morning's reading was really an eye-opener. Basket of water, exactly. Then can't keep nothing. I want to say thanks to everybody who came into the live this morning. Those of you on the tube, those of you who are on the talk, I sincerely appreciate you. To my dear moderators, my dear darling Michibu, who keeps it locked. Okay, she has the moderator crown. Michibu, I sincerely appreciate you. Card, Winsome, Andrea, Joseph, AG, and everybody else. Like, you have to stay on late at night for me to catch you in the morning. Listen, I'm not gonna stay up late every night. Last night was just one of them nights. Where, you know, Galidiat and Artist Craig Kirkland kept me up. Never even did feel like I want to sleep. But in the end, all good things had to come to an end last night. But we want to get some more of those as time goes by. Once again, I want to say thanks to everybody who came into the live. There is somebody who has been on the live for almost the entire live. Somebody wearing a blue shirt, a blue top. I'm not sure who that is. But I want to say thank you so much for having joined the live and having stayed with us for as long as you have. I sincerely, I sincerely appreciate you. Guys, that's going to be it. That's going to be it from me for this morning. When we come back, maybe when we come back later on, when I see you all later, we'll have more things and other things to talk about. All right, but for right now, that's where we are going to end the Bible reading. And guys, don't forget, y'all got to be reading the book of Matthew and the book of Luke and comparing your notes because something, some things are not the same. All right, but with that, we will continue our quest to read the Bible from beginning to end as we continue one chapter at a time. That's going to be it from me for today, my friends. Until next time, this is Straight from Traverse, where your journey matters. You are so welcome, Michibu. You are welcome, Sister Winsome, Sister Andrea, and everybody else who was here, who are still here, and who were here. I will see you all later. Later, guys. I'm out.